Akashavani Mangaluru presents Voices from the Bookshelf in collaboration with Bookaholics Mangalore. Dear listeners, welcome to today's episode of Voices from the Bookshelf. In this episode, you will listen to a talk by Aparna J. Pai on R.K. Narayan's Malgudi days.
If you're a 90s kid, you've most certainly heard of the book I'm talking about. And if you grew up in a bustling city, this was your only ticket to find out what life looks like in a charming rustic village in South India. Hello everyone. Welcome to the episode on Indian classics of Voices from the Bookshelf, a 12-week journey through literature with Bookaholics. I'm Aparna J. Pai, and together let's catch a train to Malgudi, a place that cannot be found on a map, but one that you can travel to only through your imagination. A village entirely fictional, brimming with interesting people, animals, and conversations, all thanks to one of India's finest writers, R.K. Narayan. Malgudi Days, first published in 1943, is a timeless classic that holds a mirror to the society we live in. And while you might wonder how a book written more than 80 years ago can stand the test of time, think again, for we humans may have progressed a great deal on the outside, but our inner battles have stayed pretty much the same. In this collection of 32 short stories, you will come across astrologers, postmen, doctors and gatemen, dogs, monkeys, tigers and snakes. But these aren't just your regular characters who deliver punch dialogues and vanish away. They will stay on much longer, leaving their imprints on your mind. What sets this book apart is the author's characteristic portrayal of everyday life, his eye for detail and minute observations, and how he doesn't force you to think or feel a certain way. It's almost as if he is this amazing chef who cooks up delicious stories and leaves it to you to decide what to taste, what to nibble on, and what to chew over and over again until you've fully digested it. For this same reason, I find this a great read for teenagers and young adults who might just be starting out on their reading journey and who will be encouraged to form their own opinions about the world instead of being tutored what to think. While the stories are all set in Malgudi, the feelings that they evoke are universal. If I told you that R.K. Narayan, the wordsmith who weaved such unforgettable stories, had failed in English during his university entrance examination, would you believe me? In his autobiography called My Days, he opens up on how dull and unreadable he found his English textbook to be. Pretty much the same reason why I never cleared my CA finals, if truth be told. He was of the opinion that people should be free to read whatever that pleased them, and the system of examinations was totally useless. I would happily second that. One of the earliest stories that I read from this book, way back when I was in class 9, is called The Missing Mail. It is a story about an earnest postman, Thanappa, whose foresight averts a wedding from getting postponed, even though it jeopardizes his own career. There are some real pearls of wisdom in this one, and moments of hilarity as he described the arranged marriage market and Indian family dynamics. In this book, you will meet a doctor who instills so much hope and faith in his patient that it forces miracles to happen when medicines fail. You will be moved by a father who struggles to find work-life balance and feels dejected that he cannot keep his promise of taking his little daughter out for an evening of cinema, all because his employer doesn't allow him time for his family and lures him to keep working for peanuts. In the story called The Blind Dog, a similar sentiment is conveyed through the eyes of a canine who returns to his doom with a free heart, and it makes you wonder if humans and dogs are any different. There are stories of men who have gone absolutely bonkers. Gateman Govind Singh, who takes overthinking to a whole new level and actually drives himself to the point of madness. And Mr. Rajam Iyer and his fellow traveler on a train who drive each other mad through an animated war of words. It is here that Narayan's mastery over words comes to a full display. The entire exchange gets so heated yet comical, but not a single word of profanity is used. In a witty story called The Cat Within, an entire village comes together to drive away an evil spirit with the help of an exorcist. There are plenty of stories in this collection that tug at your heart. Ishwaran is perhaps the most poignant of all. It is the story of a thick-skinned idiot who is just as human as you and I. It carries alternatively in its pages devotion and detachment, anxiety and exhilaration, failure and fervent hope. In A Shadow, Shambhu, who lost his father, finally comes to terms with it, feels the full depth of his grief, and realizes how death affects only the closest people while the rest of the world simply moves on. His final parting is a much-needed closure that heals even the readers. In Malgudi, people are compassionate not just to each other, but to nature and her many forms as well. They cannot bear to see their trees being cut. Take the case of Velan, the gardener, who weeps, "This is my child. I planted it. I saw it grow. Don't cut it down." And as he parts away from his margosa tree, he cries out again, "Don't cut yet. I'm still within hearing. Please wait till I'm gone further." To call that scene heart-wrenching would be an understatement. In A Willing Slave, which I must admit I first saw in the television series of Malgudi days, where Dina Pathak immortalized the role of an ayah, it talks about her relationship with Radha, the little girl who is the apple of her eye, the role that caregivers play in the life of a child, and how the fear of a Buddha Baba is deeply ingrained into the child. It is also a reflection on the way we treat the working class, the cooks, the gardeners, and the house help. This is explored in much greater detail in Leela's Friend as well, where a young Leela innocently questions her mother, "Why should not Siddha, who is the newly appointed house help, sit in our chair? Why should he always be made to sleep outside the house, mother?" This throws light on where we as a society still have some work to do, even decades after the story was written. In The Martyr's Corner, a roadside seller of bondas, bhajis, and bisi doses finds himself in the eye of a storm, once again reminding us that it is the marginalized people who suffer when there is a clash between political parties. In Wife's Holiday, a young boy dreams of buying a motor car, a mouth harmonium, and a green pencil from his meager savings tucked in a little piggy bank. But his lazy father succumbs to a moment of temptation, takes away the money for a game of dice, albeit with a tinge of guilt. There is Raman in The Hungry Child who builds castles in the air only to watch it come crashing down to the earth in the blink of an eye. In Trail of the Green Blazer, a thief who has a change of heart gets caught while trying to return what he stole. It's an irony that someone who is considerate towards beggars, who laments on how people seem to have lost all sense of sympathy these days, who is aware enough to observe that it is the carelessness of parents that makes the young ones suffer, should be made to go through an ordeal simply for being honest. In Emden, named after the German warship that shelled Madras in 1916, old age is explored in great detail. How Mr. Rao navigates through memory loss and his fear of falling, because one false step and that would be the end. It's a slow unraveling of a life lived to the fullest that has seen so much of the world and is now trying to reminisce his past as he glances through an old diary entry, trying to recollect the missing details like a jigsaw puzzle. There are stories that bring forth the parent-child relationship quite beautifully in Malgudi days. In Mother and Son, there is the quintessential Indian mother who worries too much, imagines the worst possible outcome when faced with uncertainty, and is ridden with guilt, and blames herself for how her children turned out. There is so much love in her heart, but she doesn't know how to express it. A lengthier version of this dynamic can be found in the story Second Opinion that captures the dilemma of a son who has to sacrifice his wishes at the altar of his mother's well-being. There is care and consideration in the young chap's heart towards his mother, yet there is pride and a reluctance to let someone else dictate how he should live his life. In another coming of age tale, we meet Selvi, a gifted singer who reclaims control over her own life and breaks free from the clutches of a man who treats her like a money-making machine. Her transformation is a powerful reminder that women know what they want, and when they are pushed to the wall and made to feel like they do not know what they want, the retaliation is bound to happen sooner or later. I've reserved my favorite story for the end like a dessert. Naga. It's the story of a young boy and how he overcomes abandonment. How he holds hope in one hand that his father would come back and pride in the other, knowing that he is capable of earning a living all by himself in the same manner as his father used to. But through a meaningful twist in the story, much to the reader's satisfaction, he passes the litmus test and proves that he is much better than his father. One of the key takeaways for me personally was the truth that the worst kind of pain a parent can inflict upon their child is perhaps not abandoning them to face life on their own, but taking away from them what gives them joy. And with that gem of a story, I will now get down at my station, back to reality. But do let me know if you enjoyed this ride to Malgudi. Pick up this book if you enjoy taking a walk down memory lane. Thank you.
You were listening to Aparna J. Pai on R.K. Narayan's Malgudi Days. This was today's Voices from the Bookshelf. See you in the next episode.